Good morning, everybody. It is August 14th, and today is not a buoy update quite yet. No, I have not limited out early. Haven't even gotten started yet today, but yesterday we talked about how I was going to go through and answer a bunch of questions from the Buoy 10 update a couple days ago, where I asked you guys to send in some questions, and I got a whole sheet of paper to go through. And then I'm going to give you a rundown on my plan for today, where I'm going to start, what I'm going to use, and we'll see how that pans out at the end of the day. So we're going to fish pretty late here until about 4 or 5 o'clock tonight for that afternoon tide. So it will be a late actual update that uploads once it takes about an hour or two for the internet to upload the update. So without further ado, let's go through some questions that you guys have asked. I'm getting a lot about water temperature. So water temp changes throughout the season. At the beginning of the season, we saw a little bit warmer temps. Now my graph runs about a degree or two warmer than a lot of other people's. What I'm looking for right now, well, beginning of the season was about 71 degrees is what I was looking for. And now with these bigger tides where there's more water mixing, I'm looking more for that 68 to 70. So on other people's graphs, it's probably going to be in that 66 to 68 degree range. So that is probably the water temp that I'm looking for. And the reason why I'm looking for that water temperature is because that is where the fish are transitioning from salt to fresh. That's where the bulk of the run is going to be. Not all the fish, but the majority of the fish. It takes them a few days to transition from saltwater to freshwater, from 55 degree water to 70 degree water. So where is that blend? Where is that mesh, that brackish water where those fish are going to be? And that's why I look for that water temperature, because that's where those two currents, those two ocean and freshwater mix. So there is your answer for water temperature. Let's see, big tides versus small tides. So big tides versus small tides. Where do you fish? So we talked a lot about this actually in our How to Fish Buoy 10 full seminar video that's up on our Friday Flicks here on YouTube. So make sure to reference that. We break down everything from every single spot that's in the entire 40 square mile area, when to fish it, how to fish it. But a quick answer to that, big tides, think of it as a river that is running high and muddy. You want to fish the corners, fish the edges, don't fish the main channel. So look for the soft spots in the current. Yes, it's 4 miles wide, but it's still a river. So there are still corners and edges where there is less current. So the big tides look for less current, at least on the outgoing. Incoming, nose into that, just let it ride, fish suspended, those fish are going to be tumbling in. On the smaller tides, those fish, that's actually kind of where I suck, is on the small tides. So maybe I'm not the best person to answer this, but those fish don't move as much because there's not as much water movement going up and down. I think that the fish tend to scatter a bit more, so they're a little bit tougher to find. Again, my opinion, because I suck at small tides. But usually that's when people do pretty good, because we came off those peak tides, they're starting to fall, they get to those smaller tides, there's a bunch of fish around, they haven't shot up quite yet. So usually we see more coho come in on the growing tides, which is what we saw here last few days. And Buoy 10 fished well itself the last couple of days because it was the biggest tides, big exchanges. And now this week that the tides are beginning to fall, those Chinook will start coming in a little bit better, and this week should be really, really good for Chinook. And then when we hit the smallest tides, the fish are staged up. They've been here for 3 or 4 days. As soon as the tides start to grow, they're gone upriver, up to you guys of the Portland area and on up. Okay, so I was asked a couple questions about fishing in the ocean from the other day. Where is the CR buoy, and should you start on the red line or green line first? So the CR buoy is the entrance to the Columbia River, and first and foremost, if you haven't fished out here off of the mouth of the Columbia River, go several times with another person. It is a dangerous bar. It's considered the first or second most dangerous bar in the world, so safety is always first. If you're unfamiliar with the area, definitely 100% go with somebody else who's familiar with it multiple times before considering going out there. I get asked all the time, when is the safest time to cross the bar? A couple days ago we went across at max ebb, is what you're not supposed to do. It was grease calm, we could go 30 miles an hour. I've been out there on an incoming tide where it's supposed to be flattest, and it is breakers. So there is no easy answer to that. You just have to have a lot of experience and be careful, and then just basically nose out there, take a look and say yes or no. Let's see, how do you know if it's a salmon on your fish finder? Well, that honestly just comes with time. You got to just become familiar with your electronics. I stare at my Lowrance for 8-9 hours a day for 250 plus days a year, and you really don't know if it's a salmon until you look at it and go, huh, that looks a little fishy, and then a rod folds over you. that was probably a salmon. I need to look for that. And so just get familiar with your electronics, spend a lot of time staring at it, get your settings where you think you're getting a good clean picture, and that is probably the best place to start. And then just fish more. I know it can be tough for a lot of us folks that work corporate. I used to work corporate myself and now made fishing my vocation, so it's pretty fun. Let's see, yesterday or a couple days ago I was out marking coho. Was I marking coho deep when I was catching them deep? No, I wasn't, and that goes back to electronics again. There are different settings that you need to put on your electronics for fishing out in the ocean. I'm guessing it's just, I'm not an electronics guy, so I'm guessing here that it is based upon the salt water, the salt content in the water out in the ocean. My returns look way different out there than they do in the river, and that's just not a depth thing. It's just they look way different, and maybe it's because fish are moving faster, who knows what. But I was marking some stuff down there, but we've been getting into a lot of mackerel, so I just kind of assumed that it was all schools of mackerel, because we were marking them every day and not getting bit down there except for mackerel. So that day I was just getting frustrated with not catching coho, just dumped them down trying to find a snook. We ended up finding coho. So sometimes if one thing's not working, at least put a test rod at a different depth and see if that makes a difference. Okay, what size hook for spinfish? So the spinfish that you get out of the package, I definitely take the leaders off. They actually sell them in 2-packs now, so if you can find those, that's a better way to go because they're not rigged. For what we're doing out here, especially fishing behind a 360 flasher, that leader is probably not the best. I switched out with 40 or 50 pound Maxima Ultra Green, and that's because these fish hit it like a freight train, and with that flasher, the tension, the braiding line, everything else, they can pop it. These fish, when we start fishing upriver, they start growing teeth, and so those teeth become a little bit sharper. They can act like scissors. So 40-50 pound on that. And for my size 2.5 and 3.0 spin fish, I'm running 3/0 in combination, or holding the side here. See if I can grab me here real quick. Getting a lot of questions about my cyst hook deal. There they are right there. Hold them up. It's the owner Dancing Stingers, and I run the 2/0 on size 2.5 and 3.0. The Dancing Stingers are, I think, helpful, but again, I've been testing them here for a couple years on my spinners and on spin fish, and when they get hooked, they're not coming off. But I feel like I am missing strikes with them, so don't change everything over to those yet. I'm just trying out new hook systems. The best place to try something new is right here at this Buoy 10 fishery because there are so many fish. So we are always learning. Let's see, river spots upriver. Where do you fish upriver? Well, these fish are moving about 15-20 miles a day once they get rolling, and so you just got to kind of find a spot that you're familiar with, maybe a spot that's close to home. Get out, become familiar with it, and just pound the daylights out of it. These fish are already going over Bonneville. The fishing has been pretty good upriver. Guys are using 360 flashers with spinners or spin fish, but I've also heard that the anchor guys are doing quite well. Man, I miss wobbler fishing. That was always so much fun. So on a good outgoing tide, maybe kick back, relax, drop the anchor, put out a couple wobblers, and watch that rod thump, and then you get the little hiccup where it goes up and then boom, down. I love wobbler fishing. Okay, leader behind skateboards. How much leader? That is different every single day. Anywhere from 22 inches to 40 inches. It all depends on if you're using bait, spinfish spinner, and there was even a day, I think it was last week, where I was running my 26-inch leaders, wasn't getting bit, and the day before I was hammering them on that 26-inch leader. Like, what the heck happened? It was just working fine. And then I got a phone call from my buddy Brandon saying, hey, what do you got for your leaders? I told him, he goes, maybe try and change that up. Maybe try shorter, try longer, try something else. And I did that on 2 rods. Both rods got bit. There you go. So just mix it up. Always keep on trying different bumper lengths, leader lengths, until you figure out what the fish want that day. Let's see, scent on spinners. Yes, I do that. I've been trying a few different things. I use a lot of the bait sauces, the Procure bait sauces. And this one here, sardine. I use sardine, tuna, herring, anchovy are the ones I use mainly on my spinners. And I like the bait sauces because it cleans off easy. If you're using the super gels, that's pretty tough stuff to get off of your spinner. You definitely don't ever want to put it onto the blade. You put it onto the tubing. Don't put it onto the beads. The tubing can clean off a lot easier than the beads or the blade. So there you go. And shameless plug, but that stuff there, the hand soap, the badass hand soap, actually does get the bait sauce off of your tubing too. This is like the one stuff that I use in my plugs that can actually get gel off of stuff, so works pretty good. All right, next one. Sorry, trying to rapid fire through these. Let's see. Fish nip recipe. That's an easy one. When I'm making up my fish nip, I just take the package of fish nip, open it up, and I just add this stuff here. You can see it's kind of, I don't know if you can even read anymore, it's kind of beat up, but it's a scent bomb. It's bloody tuna and sardine, and that scent bomb is just, I mean, it's sludge, it's nuclear. It's a real heavy thick liquid, and I basically just add this stuff until it is the consistency like Play-Doh where I can form it, and that's what I usually do for wrapping it on my plugs, but it makes it easier to clean out of my spent fish as well. So that's what I'm using for my fish nip. Pretty simple. Fish nip and that scent bomb. Simple. Okay, let's see. Set your initial spread. What colors do you do? Now, I'm fortunate being a guide that I can run 6 rods. Because I can run 6 rods, like today I have 2 triangle flashers with Green Machine and Red October, and I have 2 Pro Trolls with spinners, and I have 2 Pro Trolls with spinfish. Put everything out there to start the day, figure out what they want, switch it all over to that. Now, for you folks at home that are watching this, you don't have that luxury of 6 rods, so what do? Go with the good old standbys. You know, a lot of guys are saying, why aren't you using bait? Couple reasons. I'm trying to avoid bait this year. One, the bait I haven't been too happy with. It's been pretty small and kind of mushy, but it seems like the last couple of days bait is getting better, so that's great. And 2, we're having to release a lot of fish between the coho and the wild chinook. We're having to release a ton of them. What I don't want to do is get a fish into the net with a ton of hooks all over its face, or even one down deep. I'm trying to be as nice to these fish as I can, and so because of that, I've been running more hardware and trying to be ethical, but I mean, sometimes you can't argue with these fish. They just want anchovies. So sometimes you just got to have it there just to be ready, just in case. So when you're choosing your colors, I mean, they're salmon, right? So anything green, chartreuse, red, blue. Choose one of those colors, you're probably in a good place to start. And I would probably run, well, for my triangle flashers, you guys know the 3 colors I always run: Green Machine, Red October, Pawn Shop. Red October when there's a lot of coho, a little bit of a cloudy day. Pawn Shop for sure when you get that marine layer, and cloudy day. Green Machine just always works for Chinook. Red October and Pawn Shop work. Red October works okay down here for Chinook. It works excellent for coho. It works excellent in high sun for coho. So I always have those 3 flashers, so I'm ready for anything that I run into down here. Let's see what else we got. Fish around Woodland, what to use. Yeah, we kind of covered that. So when you're fishing upriver, either anchor fishing with wobblers or 360 with a spinner or spinfish. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah, so what depths do you run on your rods is difficult to control at different depths. So the way that you want to set up your spread is your back rods have the most amount of line out, your front rods have the least amount of line out. So let's say you guys, if you're only fishing 2 or 3 rods, pretty simple. You can stagger them out. Your 2 rods that are off to the sides are a little bit shallower than your shotgun one right down the middle. If you're running 4, 5, 6 rods like I am, then you want your front rods running at say 20 and your back rods running at 30. You know, create a little bit of separation between them. Now, what I use for leads in pretty much every situation out here, whether it's in the ocean or in the river, is 16 ounces. And I like to do that on every single rod because of consistency. So if I am out there catching fish at 25 on the line counter, I can put every rod at 25 on the line counter. Pretty straightforward. If I'm running 16, 12, 10, I'm kind of guessing where the 12s and 10s are to match up with the depth for the 16. So I personally like to just make it all clean and easy, just run 16s on everything. But some guys create their separation by changing up the lead size, and you can just put every line at 35 on the line counter, and they, just because of the different lead amounts, they separate in the water column. So up to you guys, however you want to handle that. But I like to have consistency so I can match the hatch. All right, what else we got? Why no breakaways on 360s? Well, I've tried about 4 or 5 different types of breakaways, and I haven't found one that works better than running none at all. And what I don't like to have to do, especially down here when there's a lot of bites, a lot of action, is have to reset them. I want it to get bit. If it doesn't stick, stay right there in the water column because there's more coming on the way. I'm going to try out a new one that I just picked up here yesterday, see if it works, see if I like it. I like the concept, but I think I'll probably be using it more upriver as opposed to down here just because of the amount of bites. I don't want to have to reset it, but we'll see. I'm going to put on a couple rods and see how it works. Bank fishing options. Where do you bank fish down here? That's actually a pretty common question and a great one too. So bank fishing down here, you got on the Oregon side Social Security Beach, which is just past Hammond, and on the Washington side you have the North Jetty. And most guys go out there and either wear their waders or just walk along the beach and cast spinners. Now, blue foxes and whatnot are not going to be the best ones to use because they grab a lot of water and they float up in the water column. So your old school flying C's are really just even a rooster tail. They make like those 1 ounce rooster tails. It's a slender profile. That blade is really narrow too. And because it's a narrow blade, it'll stay down in the water column. You don't want to run a Colorado or a Cascade blade. It grabs too much water and floats up. You're already at a disadvantage fishing from the bank, so just cast out there with one of those rooster tails with that narrow blade style and heavy lead body, and it will stay down in the strike zone in the lower part of the water column. But be careful out there because both those spots can get a little bit tricky if the ocean's a little rough. So don't go, it's just a 5-pound silver. You don't need to go out there and try and catch it if the ocean's rough, especially on the North Jetty. And even there at Social Security Beach, you can get some breakers that come through and kind of chop that up. The sand can be a little soft, so be careful. What else? Why no downriggers? Well, so downriggers down here are kind of frowned upon, and that's because it is a lot of current and you're making hard turns quickly when you're in the crowds. And if you're gonna run downriggers, you can't really make a hard turn. Your gear will get tangled up quite a bit, and your setback, if you are going to run downriggers, should probably be no more than 10 feet. And that's just because of those hard turns that you're going to have to make. So downriggers are probably more effort than they're worth down here. So just snap on a lead and go. Don't even worry about bringing your downriggers down. So that kind of answers most of the questions. If you have more, feel free to send them my way. I'm always here to help. But now let's talk about what I'm going to do here today. So my plan for today is we're starting at 9 a.m. Now, why are we doing that? We're starting at 9 because of a really hard outgo. It's a full moon right now, which means on full moon and new moon are your biggest tides. We're getting a really big, a lot of water outgo. It's max ebb right now. And the fish just, they get flushed out hard. They're difficult to catch this time of the tide. So we're gonna wait till the tide slows down here at about a half hour, 40 minutes, and then go out there and give it a shot. I think most of our bites are gonna come on the income. And because of that, I'm going to be fishing suspended a lot. In fact, most of this year I've been fishing anywhere from 25 to 40 on the counters with 16 ounces of lead. In years past, I've marked a lot of fish down on the bottom, and so I've been fishing 55, 100, 120 on the counters. This year I haven't felt like I've needed to do that quite yet, and that could be based on water temperature or a myriad of reasons, who the heck knows, but I've been fishing suspended quite a bit. So today I'm probably going to start out just trolling down with the tide, wait for it to start pushing me back, start down low around buoy 10, buoy 12, maybe over at Ilwaco, marker 5. Just going to kind of see what the current does, see which way it's pushing. It usually pushes first on the Washington side and then on the Oregon side. So I can jump over to the Washington side, see if the fish are pushing through there. If not, I can jump over to the Oregon side and hit that same part of the tide in theory. So I'll probably start down there low and then just let the current push me back and try and stay on top of the fish. You can leapfrog, get back in front of them. So if we see a ton of fish get caught in a matter of 15, 20 minutes and all of a sudden it goes quiet, whip around, run back upriver a mile or two, drop back in, and hope to run into those fish once again. So my theory is that I'm going to be below the bridge all day today, and I'm going to run. Mexican Hat did really good yesterday, so we're going to stick with that one. Bronco's been pretty consistent, but it's only really been good for 1 or 2 a day. There was one day where it did really well, but since then it's been kind of just 1 or 2 a day. There are some coho around, so I might throw on some pink and white and silver spinners, because those coho just can't say no to that. Maybe put a little tinsel flash on the back. And yeah, I think what we're going to do is catch fish right at the tide change down low in front of Ilwaco, buoy 10, buoy 12. And then we'll catch fish again down near checkerboard, on just hovering on the Oregon or Washington side, so in front of Hammond or in front of marker 7. And then whichever side I'm hearing or seeing us catching more fish, I'm going to jump up to the bridge on the Washington side or over in front of Hammond and let the fish flush up to us. So that's my plan, and when we get off the water today, I'll let you know how it goes. I'm guessing we probably won't catch fish until about 11:30, 12 o'clock today, even though we're starting at 9, and then we'll do best between noon and probably 3-ish, 4-ish, and after that, you're gonna have to kind of wait for the tide change. So that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. This next week of fishing here should be absolutely fantastic. We have falling tides. There's a lot of fish that showed up here last couple days. Those fish will start to stack up, start to stage. It should be really good fishing this week. And yesterday and today, the docks were full, the parking lot was full, fish are being caught everywhere. It finally felt like Buoy 10. I love this fishery. I get to learn a lot. I get to see a lot of friends and family and familiar faces. It's a pretty special place. So hopefully this continues, and this next week brings a lot of new memories for everybody. We'll see you guys later on tonight. Hopefully not too late of an upload, but we'll try and get it done quick. Thanks. Later.